gentlemen, episode 8, The Fire, next time. Because the way this ended, there will be a next time. It's your boy Icon with some more DC TV. The last DC TV review live from Miami South Beach while I'm on vacation. Yes, I'm still working on my vacation. So in this particular episode, this one was pretty straightforward. You know, despite the fact that we have Jay Garrick, which is Barry's dad's doppelganger, and then we have Joan, which is Barry's mom's doppelganger, who both were on Earth 3, and thanks to Oliver Queen rebooting the universe, both of them wound up on Earth Prime along with the Flash. Whereas like everybody on Earth Prime knows that Barry's parents are dead, but their doppelgangers live one next town over, and nobody said anything about that. We're still celebrating Barry's father's birthday, which is very cool. It's very heartwarming and very nice, but it's also awkward because his dad lives in the next town. So, and today's the day. So Iris knows about it. Like she says to Barry, she's just like, hey, if there's anything I could do, let me know. And he's just like, nah, you're good, babe. He's like, I got to learn how to get over it eventually, because, there's still my dad and blah, blah, blah. So he goes to work. Now, there was a metahuman attack, and there was this one particular guy. I forgot his name. His name was Grip something. Fire dude, big old fire dude. So when the fire dude, he did security. He was a fire meta, and he did security for a stadium that hosts like rock concerts and everything. The guy had a son. And Birch, his name was Birch, and Birch had a son, and Birch's son was a complete douchebag because, Birch, he got arrested at one point, he got locked up, and then his son ended up with the mom. The mom was a bad mom. She didn't really take care of him that well. Birch busted his ass to do what he had to do to get out of Iron Heights, to get out of prison, and he got his son back, and despite him doing what he had to do for himself and getting his son back and getting custody of his son from his mom, who wasn't doing anything for him, the son still treated him like complete garbage. So he was calling him a loser, he kept calling him by his first name and everything, and then there was this whole big thing. Birch had promised his son he was going to get him backstage passes to one of the rock concerts. He didn't get a chance to get those backstage passes because the guy he was supposed to get him from had screwed him over. Now, the person who screwed him over, he got attacked and he got burnt alive. So because he got burnt alive and roasted, it actually melted. They showed like his dead, like his burnt up corpse and everything. Because he got roasted and because he got melted, everybody blamed Birch for it because they knew that Birch and the guy had beef over the whole ticket thing. Even the girl that worked the bar, she worked behind the bar, she said that she saw the two of them arguing moments before the guy actually ended up getting killed. So everybody right out the gate automatically assumed that Birch did it. And that was kind of jacked up because, normally if you're a suspect, like in a crime, like you're not at the point where they're ready to arrest you because you committed the actual crime. I'm talking about a suspect. They're supposed to just bring you in for questioning and compare the facts and the notes and everything to decide whether or not you actually did it. They didn't bring him in for questioning. They ran up on him with the metiguns and like 59 police officers, and they had convinced themselves that he killed this person. So, and then so of course like he's surprised because like his son's sitting right there. This is embarrassing. And the Flash, and then he lit up his hands because when somebody took his son, they said like let's put his son in social services. That's when he lost his shit. And then he ended up, saying he lit up, his hands lit up, and he was like, nobody's gonna hurt my son, and you're not gonna take my son away from me. And then after he said that, that's when the Flash showed up, and then he had knocked him over, and then after the Flash knocked him over, then the cops came in. They Barry put the medicuffs on him, and then the cops went to go put him in the back of the squad car. But then when that happened, Birch ended up telling the Flash, he was like, listen, he was like, I didn't do it. He was telling his son, he was like, don't worry. He's like, I'm gonna get you out of here. And then he was like, you gotta believe me, Flash, I'm innocent. And then just as they were putting him in the cop car, to take him off to prison, that Barry started getting flashbacks of the night where he got, where his dad ended up getting in trouble for the murder of his mom, which he didn't do. So Barry kind of felt some way about that. And they even showed the actor, they showed, the footage from the actor that played Barry as a boy, RIP to him, because I know he had passed away. He had passed away a couple of years ago. It's nice to actually still see them using the footage and everything of him on the show. So, Barry's starting to feel some kind of way now because when you tell somebody that you didn't kill somebody and you tell somebody that all you want is your son, Barry knows that look. Like, he knows that look in the eye of an innocent man and somebody who didn't commit a crime. So now he's kind of feeling some kind of way about this, and he's thinking like maybe we prejudged him, like we were a little bit premature with this whole thing. So he goes and looks into the case. He starts digging into the case. He starts looking into certain information. He asked Cecile to help him. Cecile went down to talk to Birch, and even Cecile said, she was like, listen, the guy doesn't have an alibi. He has fire powers. The victim was burnt. There's a witness that says that she saw him, she saw him arguing with the guy before he got burned. She was like, dead ass Barry. She was like, this doesn't look good for him. But Barry was just like, yeah, but my gut tells me otherwise. And, this is a very personal case to him because not only is he trying to celebrate his father's birthday today, he's also reminiscing on the day that his dad got arrested for a murder that he didn't commit. So it says, so this whole thing's very personal to him. But unfortunately, the rest of Team Flash doesn't think so because Cecile tried, but and I'm a little disappointed in Cecile because she became a metahuman attorney specifically to help the people that didn't have help, the people who needed help. And after one meeting with Bert, she was just like, well, Barry, shit is fucked. I don't know, I don't know what we're going to do from here. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I kind of, and even then the whole thing with her power, Barry had asked her at one point, he was like, can you use your metahuman power to kind of like feel him out to see if he's telling the truth? But she said from an ethnical standpoint, she couldn't do that because it violates a whole bunch of laws. But I'm just like, but then you're just going to throw in the towel and be like, hey, he's guilty, Barry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Chester thought he was guilty. Killer Frost thought he was guilty. And then, Barry got upset. He was just like, so we've all basically decided this man's guilty. We're not even going to try to save him. But they're just like, oh, the evidence. And then Killer Frost is like, you're looking for miracles. And he was like, you goddamn right. Because he said that if somebody would have cared back then and did that for me and did that for, when my dad got arrested, he said my dad never would have went to prison if that was the case. So, and then that's when everybody was just like, they kind of like felt bad now because they understand a little bit more why Barry was so passionate about wanting to save Birch. So they promised him that they would look into it. They went to go look into it. So then at that point, Birch ended up rolling up on the witness, like the girl who was the witness and said she saw him arguing. She ran up on the witness, and then it showed the two of them having an argument, and he told her he lit up on fire, and he was like, you're going to take back everything that you said. And then after he lit up on fire and she started screaming, she was like, no. Then they went to commercial. When they came back from commercial, the girl was dead. And they never said anything about a conversation. They never said anything about the confrontation or the conversation the two of them had. There was nothing about, like, there were no camera footage and everything. Like, it was just like the girl got torched and they're leading us to believe that Birch killed her too. Barry looked into it and he said that both heat signatures are exactly the same. And then he even said, he was like, that's not possible. There's no way that can happen. And then he said, if that's the case, then Birch is innocent because of the heat signatures. And then he told Chester to look into it, and Chester promised he would look into it. What Chester determined, the deaths of the first two people, they came as a result of like cold fusion. And then Chester said that Birch's power is a result of like hot fusion, like regular fusion, like absorbing like heat and everything around you, like the Earth's core, blah blah blah. So and they said that, but because these deaths were related to cold fusion, he said that there's no way that Birch could have been the killer. Nobody apologized to Barry, which they should have. And he said that they got the evidence that they need to actually free Birch. But then they had got a report that Birch had escaped from prison, and then he went to go roll up on on Child Services for taking his son. And then when he found his kid, when he found Child Services, he lit up and he was like, nobody's gonna take my son away. And then that's when Barry showed up, Killer Frost showed up. But then what happened was like an earthquake started happening underneath because Barry had said Birch's power is connected to his emotion, and the more emotional he gets, the more like seismic activity that creates under like the Earth's core. So because his power was tied to his emotions, he was creating like an earthquake due to like the volcanic lava that was underneath the ground. So the Flash calmed him down, the two of them worked together, and then they ended up stopping the volcanic eruption. And after that, they told Birch, he was like, hey, you just saved a bunch of lives, you just saved a lot of people. And then Birch was just like, oh my god, I'm a hero. And then his son hugged him and everybody was celebrating Birch, and I'm just like, but he caused the seismic activity to begin with. But I'm like, whatever. So we're just gonna ignore the fact that he just stopped a crisis that he caused. But say la vie. So then they gave the cops the evidence. They let him go. He got his son back, and then everything was good and everybody was happy. They had a nice little celebration for Henry. For Henry at the end of the episode where everybody talked about like old times. Barry felt good about it, and I think he's at a point now where he can kind of like move on from feeling like hurt when he thinks about his dad. Instead, now he's at a position where he can feel like joy and he can feel happiness, especially because he knew like his dad was loved and how everybody felt about him. Plus, if you ever really want to talk to him that bad, he could always go over to the next town and go talk to Jay Garrick, who looks just like his daddy. So that was it for that one. And then in some CCC media, some Central City media news, Allegra and one of the reporters, because I know there were 3 reporters. There was 2 girls and a guy. The blonde girl, she wanted to do a news report based on some social media influencer. Allegra, Allegra is her supervisor. Allegra told her no because the story was basically like fluff and there was no substance to it. The girl went behind her back and talked to Iris about it, and Iris agreed to let her do the story only because the influencer that she wanted to interview got a lot of views, got a lot of social media views, and Iris wanted to get those views on her platform, which makes perfect sense. But Iris also knew that the story was very empty. She knew it was fluff, and she knew that it was very shallow. So she told Allegra to go work on the story with her and help add some substance and some contents to the whole thing. Allegra didn't want to do it now because she was tight, because when she told the girl no to the story originally, the girl went behind her back, spoke to Iris, then Iris gave her the green light. So Allegra already wasn't on board with the whole story. So then the two of them went to go interview the social media influencer together, and then Allegra wasn't into it. She thought it was boring, and then she saw an old friend of hers that was sweeping the floors at CC Jitters, so she ditched the interview and she went to go talk to her friend. And now her friend was very surprising because she saw her, because they were in Iron Heights together when Allegra was in prison. And then as soon as she saw Allegra, she was just like, oh, you don't have time to check up on people, and people like you don't look at people like me like real people, and you think you're all big. And I'm just sitting there like, who is this bitch? Like, all Allegra said was hi. Like, all Allegra said was hi, how are you? And the girl just bit her head off, and I'm just like, that was completely uncalled for. Like, that was completely unnecessary. And I was just like, I don't know what Allegra did. It's not like they had beef when they were in Iron Heights together. I don't know what she did to warrant that sort of like emotional response. And I was just kind of felt bad. Like, if I was Allegra, I'd have spit in that chick's face. But then Allegra decided, because she was just like, the girl said she got her GED when she was in Iron Heights, and because she's an ex-con, she can't get a job, and people look at her a certain way, blah, blah, blah. Allegra, in an act of guilt and wanting to do like a real story, she ended up doing a story on that girl to get her story out there, when which basically like undercut the other girl's story. So then when she took it to Iris had said to her, she said like, the story's amazing, it's a really good story, but it's not what I asked you to do. She said, I wanted you to help the white girl because the white girl's story was flat, and I wanted you to beef it up a little bit, but you went behind my back and you decided to do this now. And she was like, I'm still gonna run your story, we're still gonna run the other girl's story, but she was like, look, you got to apologize to her and make that shit right, because you're the supervisor. It's your job to make that right, not the other way around. Though we never addressed the fact that the girl went behind Allegra's back to go talk to Iris to begin with, but whatever. So Allegra goes and apologized to the girl, and she gave the girl a very legit apology. Like, she apologized to the girl, but then the girl got upset, and then she was just like, oh, I'm gonna marry you, bitch. And I was just like, really? Like, we're omitting the fact that you went behind her back first. But anyway, so now Allegra has an enemy. Like, Allegra has she has a nemesis, in CC media, and that's gonna be pretty interesting. We'll see where that goes, because at the end of the day, Allegra's still her boss, so anything can happen at that point. And there's gonna be some rifts, there's gonna be some beef, and then Iris is gonna step in, and try to fuel the fire. But like I said, we'll see. There's a small part of me that actually is interested in that. We didn't bring up the Iris time thing. I don't know where the time stuff happened. Like, can we go back to the time stuff? But I guess that's a problem for later. And then in the final scene, Killer Frost, Barry, and Chester were going over the Birch case, because they said that since we now know that Birch isn't the one that did it, this legitimately means we have a metahuman serial killer on the loose that's just going around torching people with cold fusion. Team Flash is going to look into that now to try to find out who this metahuman serial killer is and how they can take them down. I did see in the coming attractions for the next episode that the metahuman serial killer actually makes their way into Star Labs. So now we have a murder mystery on our hands. Let's bring in the Naomi gang for that one. But it is very interesting, and when we get trapped in Star Labs with a killer on the loose, I definitely want to see where this goes. So that was it, and thank you for tuning in. So let me know what you thought about this particular episode. Did you like the tribute to Henry Allen? Because again, I don't know, it was weird because the way the episode was treated, it was almost like the character died. Like the actor that plays, Jay Garrick, Henry Allen, like they treated it like he died. But at the end of the day, it's still nice to see them still acknowledge Barry's parents. I just wish they would acknowledge his parents in the next town over. But but like I said, episodes like this, these are Flash episodes, like these warm-hearted, fun-friendly Flash episodes. These are the episodes that we know about the Flash, so these episodes that we get. But share your thoughts down below. Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram, always on YouTube. Put your comments down below so I can talk to you about it. We can share our comments back and forth. The Marvel show Moonlight is coming out pretty soon. I'm undecided if I'm going to review that yet, but I've reviewed everything else so far, so I figure we'll give it a shot and see how we like it. And like I said, we're still doing Superman and Lois, we're still doing Naomi, and for the love of God, we're still waiting for that Young Justice. So that was it, guys. So for the final time, signing off from South Beach, Miami. Take care. We'll be back in a flash, and I'm at this